and we're so glad to see so many of you out here to our forum this evening. This is a board forum that is sponsored by your CTA. The Bolivar CTA is the Community Teachers Association, and we are pleased and honored to be able to do this for our community. We have 6 candidates for our school board this year, and so we thought with that many running, we needed to have a board forum so that you could hear from your candidates and ask questions and kind of see what they're all about and get to know them and get acquainted. So we welcome all of you to our forum this evening. My name is Gail Skaliski, and I am past president of our CTA, and I am currently the Southwest Region president of our Southwest Region Teachers Association. In the back, I want to introduce to you the state MSTA president, Lisa Funk. And we are honored to have the state MSTA, Missouri State Teachers Association president from Bolivar. And so we kind of rack up a good portion of the leadership in the MSTA. We have state board member Tisha Clausen is here with us as well. And so thank you. Welcome, Tisha. I'd also like to thank our committee for our school board forum. They put in lots of time and work on this, and Renee Schellenhammer was our chairman of that committee, and we have our committee members here working this evening, so a round of applause for them as well. All right, so I want to begin and inform you that as our forum goes on this evening, I would like for you to be thinking of, or if something clicks, we have handed out paper and pencil or pens for you to make notes, write down a question if you think of one that you would like to ask. Be keeping tabs and write those down, and we will collect those in our basket here, and then later we'll have an intermission, and our committee will look over those questions, and we'll have an open-ended question from the floor, and we will choose some questions that are similar in text, and then we will ask those questions of our candidates. So be thinking about that as you sit and as you listen to our candidates this evening. All right, I'm going to introduce each candidate by name first. We have Ren Hall, Steve Henderson, Tina Gio, Mona Coleman, Bill Van Hornbeek, and J.R. Collins. Each candidate has been asked 3 questions for which they were able to prepare a statement and an answer and a response. The first question will start with Ms. Hall and be answered by each candidate in order. And the following questions will be asked in the same fashion, but we'll start rotating the order to my left. So, candidates, you will have 3 minutes to answer those 3 general questions with your prepared answer. And we have a timing committee here that if you'll watch them, they'll give you the 30-second and the red card and the go card. And then if you're over, I will do this. I always like to hit the button. So, and we'll try to get you keep your times at about 3 minutes. So we will have a break after the general questioning. And you will have time to speak with the candidates. If you have a question, if you've heard them say something, you want to address them personally, do that at that time. And I know they're open for that. They've been informed that will happen. So if you hear something they've said, you want to talk to them further about it, or have another question you just want to privately talk with them about, you may do that as well. The forum will continue after the short break with our submitted questions then. And each candidate will be given 2 minutes to do their answers and respond to those questions. After we have gone through all of those submitted questions, we'll have a 2-minute wrap-up given by each one of you in turn. And then if there's anything else that you feel like you want to say and hasn't been said yet, that's the time where you can do that. So our forum will now begin. So we're going to start with Ms. Hall. The first question is, please introduce yourself to the audience. Explain what influenced your decision to seek the position of a Bolivar R1 School District board member, and what 3 things have best helped to prepare you for this role.
There's nothing like the pressure of having to start us all off, so I'll do it. My name is Ren Hall. I'm also the Director of Community Relations at CMH. I graduated from Southwest Baptist University, so we've been involved with the community about 20 years and left for a short while and then moved back. My interest in running for the school board actually took place a couple years ago. I was asked to be a part of a different position in our community, and that didn't interest me at that time because I knew I wanted to be on the school board instead. So it's been a couple years in the making and really thinking about it, and so that's what influenced my role. I'm also a mom. I have 3 kids, and I'll introduce them a little bit later. They're not here, though. They chose not to. It's a toss-up. Home or sitting through this? They're doing their reading log. Yes, that's what they're doing. So the 3 things that have helped me prepare for this challenge is, like I mentioned earlier, I do have 3 children in the school. I walk through the doors of our school almost every day or every other day, doing something either with my job or being a parent. I'm pretty tuned in, I think, to teachers in the classroom and what's going on there. And of course, see all the work coming home, and that's my friendship circle as well. So I think that's probably number 1 that's prepared me for being on the school board. Number 2, I'm a high communicator and high listener. If you know me very well at all, I love to do that. It's what I do for a living. I can really see both sides of the situation. I work in a very unique environment, healthcare. It's never an easy path at all. I work pretty good at bringing people together and find similarities and solutions, which I think is a very important role to play on a school board. I can also, though, have tough conversations with people, but love them through it. And I can have my opinion, but you won't find me forcing my opinion on you. And sometimes I also think that you just have to agree to disagree. And I think that I can bring these qualities to the board on behalf of our students, teachers, and families, and I think it has great value and a fresh perspective. And then the third thing that helped me prepare for this challenge is definitely my work with all of our area schools and organizations in Southwest Missouri. I work with your schools every day. I have 30 seconds left. That's a tough thing to say. I work with your schools every day. I work with all of your area school nurses. I work with actually about 25 different school districts on health initiatives and wellness programs. So that's also part of what I do and helps me connect with your school. Thank you.
I know you want me to stand, but I'm going to sit because I can't use my glasses and read my notes when I stand. I'm an old guy. So, you tell me when you're ready to go.
It's all yours.
Okay, well, my name's Steve Henderson. I've been a member of the Board of Education for 9 years now. I'm a commercial lending officer at Commerce Bank. And I think what mostly influenced my decision to become a board member is that 40 years ago I sat right here in this room. This was a study hall. We threw a few water balloons out those windows there. But across the parking lot I received a diploma with over 100 of my friends. And that has served me very well in my life. And I want to try to give back to the school. It gave me so much. And by doing that, I can be a member of the Board of Education and try to help our teachers and administrators provide the best education possible to our children. I can never repay that debt, but that's about as close as I can get. What 3 things help prepare me? Well, first, I do know a few things about reading financial statements. I'm a banker. I do that every day. I make decisions based on the financial condition of a lot of businesses, extremely large businesses. I understand cash flow projections, bond financing, lease purchase agreements, school funding requirements. And I can tell you right now without any reservation that this school is in excellent financial shape. We are well positioned for the future. We have a really great reserve. We're very frugal with the taxpayers' money, and we do that with a very, very low assessed valuation. Secondly, there's absolutely nothing that can substitute experience on the Board of Education. It takes about 2 years before you actually learn what you're trying to do when you're on the board. You have to look at every situation from every aspect, and you must remember that the students of this school district come first. All of the students come first, not just mine, not just yours, everybody. And so many things go into that. There's student achievement, building and grounds, human resources, community engagement, the list goes on and on. But everything is important and everything goes into the educational process. And third, I feel this is the most important thing. I'm a Bolivar native. This is my school. This is the school that my children attend. It's the school that my friends have attended. We're proud of the school. We're proud to call ourselves Liberators for Life. We have a vested interest in this school, and we will never, ever compromise the ideals and the beliefs of this community.
I am going to stand because my feet are dangling. So, I'm Tina Guillo. I'm a coach and a mom. I have 3 children. 2 have graduated from Bolivar and 1 is in 8th grade. What influenced my decision was there was some drastic educational changes recently that I noticed in not only my child but some others, and it got my attention. So I am nosy. So started looking into it and wanted to find out what was going on. There became some apathy toward learning, which I had not experienced before, and I thought, what is this? So I started looking and became concerned. So I thought, well, you know, get off your duff and do something. We have amazing, amazing education in Bolivar. Our other 2 kids have gone through, and to be honest, I've just went, go get them. I believe in independence, so I stay out of the way when I should and jump in there when I need to. I don't consider myself a helicopter mom, but I will fly in, you know, really fast if needed. But I consider myself an independent raiser. So my children are very independent, and those who know them probably think way too so. But they are individuals that have had a great education at Bolivar, and we're very proud of that. The other reason I decided to run for the school board is because I thought I could be a voice for those who don't have one, whether that's a student or a teacher, someone who I've talked to that needs a voice from just an ordinary person. And I'm definitely that. I'm very pragmatic. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it doesn't make sense, why do it? Scrap the red tape and figure out the best way to go at things practically, and that would probably describe me the best. The 3 things to prepare for this role: number 1, as I said, I am a mom. I'm just a plain mom, and we all want what's best for our kids that are around other kids, and we want the best that we can for them. And Bolivar has certainly done my children well, so I'm very proud of that. My second thing is I am educated. I come from one side of educated family and another side of not so educated, so I was the first one in our family to get a college degree. When you do that, you learn things the hard way, so I've gone through that. The third thing is I think I can listen to people without getting so emotionally attached that I can't think straight. Sometimes we like to, I don't care what that person does, I'm for them, right or wrong. And when we should be seeing what's right and what's wrong first.
Okay, I'm going to stand, but I feel pretty tall. I'm Mona Coleman. I've served on the board for 12 years. What influenced me to want to be on the school board was wanting to give back to public education. And I'd considered running quite a few years ago, but with the commitment with 5 children in school, and they were scattered throughout all the attendance centers. What am I doing wrong? And all the school activities that they were involved in, I knew I couldn't make the time commitment that serving on the board would require to do a good job. After 2 of them graduated, and my niece, who could be reunited with her mother, I made the decision to run after a past school board member approached me and she said, you know, if you don't run this year, there's not going to be but one woman on the board. So I know the women in the room understand why. But seriously, I ran because I found myself with the time available and I wanted to make a decision to make a difference in the school system. The 3 things that have best helped me to prepare for that role is first, of course, having the 4 children and a niece that I've raised for almost 3 years and 2 grandchildren who attend public schools, and it's all given me opportunities to be involved in all levels of education from preschool to grade 12. I've spent many years as a classroom volunteer. I've served on various parent committees and booster clubs through the years, many choir and band programs, many sports events, many nights of homework, and way too many teacher conferences to remember them. All of these experiences have had an impact on me and has given me a better perspective. I understand that what the teachers and the staff need from me as a parent, as a grandparent, and as a school board member. In addition, being active in other civic organizations and being involved in the community as a business leader, Chamber of Commerce president, Rotary, and many other civic organizations, as well as being involved in the community as a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, and a church member, I feel I understand the expectations of our community and I'm connected to what we all value in our public schools. Second, my local, state, and federal experiences serving on committees for school improvement, Missouri School Board's Board of Directors, Vice President of our State School Board Association, and many other professional training opportunities have prepared me to serve on the board and serve the patrons of our district, and give me a broader understanding of where we are and where we want this district to go. I have a deep amount of trust in our teachers and administrators, and I believe that they respect someone that is a lifelong learner and someone who values education. That is what I've done for the past 12 years, and I plan to continue doing that as a Bolivar Board of Education member.
Excuse me. My name is Bill Van Hornbeek, and the decision to seek the position of Bolivar R1 School District Board member is one that was not made casually. I understand the tremendous responsibility that is required of such a position, and I'm willing to assume this with the character and integrity that creates the framework of every aspect of my life. That being said, I made the decision based upon my conviction that Common Core is not good for the children of our school district, our state, and certainly not our country. So it is because of this that I have decided to run for a seat on the Bolivar R1 School District Board. For the past 8 years, I've been a partner and owner of a private practice physical therapy clinic in Bolivar. The Bolivar Physical Therapy Center is a successful small business in the midst of a climate that has been less than favorable for small businesses. My faith, my fiscally conservative decisions, my work ethic, my leadership style, and the people I surround my business with all contribute to its collective success. These qualities should help me be an effective leader in this school district. Thank you.
My name is J.R. Collins. I moved here 16 years ago when I accepted the position of principal at Bolivar High School. Excuse me. My wife is Loretta Collins. She's here with me tonight. I understand, boss. We have 4 children, and we have 10 grandchildren, 8 of which are in school in different districts, so theoretically we're kind of still pushing kids through school, and we enjoy it very much. What influenced me to seek position as a Bolivar R1 school board member? I ran for the Board of Education 6 years ago for 2 reasons. One, because of a commitment I made to teachers and parents of this district that I would do so when I retired. 2, because I truly believed the Bolivar School District was an outstanding school district, and I felt that I could continue to be a positive contributor to a district as a member of the Board of Education. What are the things that best prepared me to be a member of the Board of Education? Actually, 33 years in education, 20 of which were a high school principal. I figured up to date I've attended or been directly involved in well over 400 board meetings. I'm not sure that's a number to be proud of, but I'm just kicking that out today and I thought, wow. My past 6 years as a member of the Bolivar Board of Education, of which I am currently serving as president, and 3, the fact that I served as a high school principal in this district for 9 years. Because of these reasons, and especially the fact that I was a member of the administrative team of the Bolivar School District for 9 years, I feel I have a strong and thorough understanding of what is necessary to facilitate continued success of our teachers and students in our district. Bottom line is I'm very proud of this district and I really enjoy being involved.
Hand it back down to Steve.
I go first now, right?
Yes. All right. Our second round of questions is the following. Do you currently have or have you previously had children in the public school system? Have your children always attended the Bolivar R1 school district? How will your experiences affect your ability to be a good decision maker for all the grades you will represent if elected?
Well, I'm proud. Much to turn it on. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't duck me those points now. I'm proud to say that all of my children have attended the Bolivar R1 beginning in kindergarten, and my 2 oldest ones went through all 13 grades and graduated. Bailey graduating in 2010 and Lindsay graduating in 2012. The teachers that are here, you all know them, for better or worse. My youngest child, Shelby, is currently a student at BMS in the 8th grade. And my wife, Lori, I want to mention her. She is a secretary in the technology department. Why in the world she chose that job when I was going to have to run for re-election, I have no idea. And then I have a sister, Kim Kahn, most of you know, who is the art teacher at the high school. She was the art teacher at the primary school for many years. She's had a lot of the Bolivar children go through her classes. We decided when our children were old enough to go to school that we would move back to the Bolivar area so that they could attend the Bolivar R1 school district. Our school has a great reputation, and people actually moved here to take advantage of our school because they understand it's such a great school. And in fact, Dr. Dial and the registrars will tell you that some people try to convince the school district that they live in the Bolivar school district when they actually don't, so they can attend the Bolivar R1 school district. With my children attending throughout their entire career, I was exposed to educational experience that was very interesting, and I can tell you that my 2 oldest children who are now at the University of Missouri, the professors and the deans at many of our universities are well aware of our Bolivar kids. They know that our Bolivar kids are excellent students and they're glad to have them. A couple of years ago I was at the Scholars Day and we were discussing some things with the Dean of the Honors College at Mizzou and told him where I was from, and he said, well, that's very interesting because our first presenter is from Bolivar. It was Kelsey Klostermeyer, who a lot of you know, and she's now in the 2nd year of med school up there. And he said, we love Bolivar kids. This school has done a great job, and our teachers are the reasons that we've had this success. Last year, our students in high school scored the highest ACT scores in history. That's not the mark of just a competent school. That's the mark of a great school. And regardless of our personal preferences, we need to continue to remain focused on our kids. If we make all of the right decisions, then it's almost impossible to go wrong. So I could say a lot more, but that's all right.
I have 1 student presently in 8th grade. I've had 2. 1 graduated in 2010 and 1 graduated in 28. This 3rd one's 2018, so I'm not going to miss that. 28, yeah, got it. We have lived here for 10 years, so we have had one of our kids in every grade except kindergarten. So we've been through the whole system. So we've kind of run the gamut on that. We've been in many different states. Bolivar's the best. The best hands down of any education that our kids have been in. And we've been in, help me out, 5 states? I don't know, I got lost. Experiences that have affected us and I think would help is, number one, I've taught several college classes. I subbed for 8 years. Pray for me. I was one of those nuts that actually like junior high boys the best. I think if you can get them channeled in the right direction, you can win the world. And now I work with college age men, which is pretty much the same. So that's one experience I've had. The teaching part, I've taught at some college courses, adjunct and part-time, and kind of been all over the place on depending on what school we were at and the needs there. Plus, I stayed at home as much as possible with our kids. And Jeff takes a lot of time and help, so he's my full-time job there. Probably the best experience I have for contributing to running for the school board would be as a tutor. I have one-on-one with kids for 20 years on how to be better at being you and putting demands and time frames and organization. And I think that's been really the thing that's helped me the most, is gearing kids to achieve wherever they're at and go forward. And I've had everything from a 6th or 5th grade reading level at the college age and help them to a graduate from Columbia University, one of those smart places. And so I've experienced the different levels of dyslexia, all kinds of things that we've had to deal with individually and one-on-one. And I think that's a great way to give me some insight on how to help kids at all levels. And I think that would help.
I'm going to try to stay seated so I don't make the microphone make noise. As I've already mentioned, I have 4 children who have all gone through the Bolivar school system, and a niece who we raised for almost 3 years during her early high school years. I'm going to be giving away my age, but I had my oldest daughter when I was 21 and my youngest daughter when I was 37. I've had children in the public education for over 29 years, with 25 of those years being in the Bolivar school system. I currently have 3 grandsons, 2 which are school age and attend Bolivar schools. So I've been through all the grades of this district many times and will continue to be involved throughout the district with my grandsons attending. My involvement has been in all areas. We've had music, science club, art, culinary arts, health occupation, speech, drama, volleyball, soccer, basketball, football, and various other extracurricular activities. I've been officer of the music clubs, the booster club, classroom parent volunteer, room mother, PTA, and again, many other volunteer opportunities in the district. These years of first-hand involvement gave me insight and perspective to what goes on in the classroom, the dynamics of our classrooms, and the dedications of our teachers and the staff. Before serving on the board, I probably would have wondered why anyone would want to serve at all, much less on the school board after all their children had graduated from high school. And the answer is real simple. I would have never had the time to give necessary commitment while all my children were in school. It wasn't until the later years of my children being in school and the experience gained from having children in public school that I could truly appreciate how fortunate we are to have a district as committed to the student success and the staff and community who truly shares in that responsibility. And I don't take that opportunity, I do not take that opportunity lightly.
I have 6 kids, and I currently have 4 children in Bolivar schools. Excuse me. I have a sophomore boy, Sam, a freshman girl, Grace, an 8th grader, Will, and a 6th grader, Annie. Yeah, one time we had 3 kids in diapers. I have 2 children at home. John is my 4-year-old boy, and Jacob is my 2-year-old. None of my four older children have been in public school their entire scholastic careers. In addition to public school, Sam, Grace, Will, and Annie have had the experience of homeschool and private Christian school. My experiences thus far as a father, a disciplinarian, a teacher, and a role model for my children ages 2 through 16 give me tremendous insight into the challenges one might expect to encounter throughout the spectrum of ages.
I do not have children in the Bolivar district, but in a way I had children in the district for the 9 years I was a Bolivar High School principal, 700 a year. Even to today, I enjoy hearing from those students. After 6 years of retirement, I spend a lot of time with those students when we get to visit about the years that we did spend together. Naturally, my experience of working with those students, their teachers, and their parents each and every day, as well as my continued connection to all parties as a member of the Board of Education for the past 6 years, serves me well as having the ability to be a good decision maker for the students of our district. And as I mentioned before, we have 8 grandkids that are in school now. So being a part of this board and the 33 years that I spent in education keeps me involved with them, and I really enjoy that. So I don't lose touch, and I haven't lost touch, and I never will.
You want to hand it down to her?
I think I'm back on. Okay. Kids in school, yes. I have 3 children. I have Mackenzie, and she's currently out there, hopefully placing something and not last. She's running track. And she is in 7th grade. I have I'll go down the line. Emmy is in 5th grade, and then Ryder is in 3rd grade. So 3 kiddos. We've lived in Bolivar for, going on 7 years now. Like I said, we graduated from SBU, took a small break, moved south for a few years, and then my husband and I were both recruited back to work for CMH. And our reasons for moving back really was a lot of that had to do with our jobs, but also the school district. We could have lived so many other places, but the dynamics of Bolivar we knew were right for us. My experiences with our school system, everyone but Mackenzie went all the way, starting with Sunshine Preschool and now all the way up to middle school. But if that's a deal breaker for us, Robin, I can enroll Mackenzie for the summer. So we'll figure something out after this. Like I said, my kids have experienced everything. We've enjoyed our time through every aspect of the school. I've also served my time on PTA and in advisory boards. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, lots of my experiences with CMH as well, of being in the school almost every other day for something. So I think just that aspect gives me a lot of insight in what's going on in the classroom to support teachers and as well as students and families.
Okay, thank you. Before we move to the last prepared question, we do have empty seats here on the front row. If you all that are standing want to come up and have a seat, because I know you're going to be standing for a while, but there are some empty seats here for those of you that are standing in the back. So, you tried? Okay, my usher was working. Good job. Okay, let me read off the last question, and Tina, will start the answers on that one. Our last question. It is human nature to profess or acquire an agenda for which one feels strongly. If elected, what changes would you make in district policies or programs, and how would you build consensus to implement these changes?
Okay. Probably the first word you said that I'd be concerned about would be changes. We have had lots of bragging time going on, and deservedly so, of our kids getting scholarships, doctors. I know my daughter's class was one that it was tremendously high in academics. It was, I think, the highest they had, I don't know since, but I know hers was really, really very high. And so I am frightened of changes. I'm worried about changes, especially ones that are experimental. So when I see experiments, I get a little nervous, especially when my child is one of the ones being experimented on, and I'm told, well, we'll work the bugs out sometime. Well, those concern me. So I like to keep things going and just tweak as we go. I'm not an expert. I hire experts. Experts are the teachers. When I go to do plumbing at my house, I get out of the way. I say, hey, you do it, figure it out, do it right. If he doesn't, I find somebody that can. Well, the teachers are the same way. We have great teachers. Leave them alone, let them do their job, tweak just a little bit. But I know our teachers are incredible because I've experienced that. To implement what I would like to be concerned about is the agenda, I guess I have, is communication. And I think we can improve that. We can improve that from all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, whatever bottom is. Parents, teachers, community, students, school board, administration, we all can do a better job with communication. And I'm a very blunt person, shockingly. So if you ask me something, I'm probably going to tell you. I may not necessarily be gentle with it, which is something our Sunday school teacher's been telling us to work on. So I got to work on gentleness just a little bit. One other thing that I think we could work on is things like grants, incentives, anything that's brought into our school program that has money tied to it. I always am cautious. What's the string attached? Some are good, some are not so good. And I think we as a school board should be very cautious of what the strings are attached to anything that gives us finances, because nothing's free.
"12 years ago, when I made the decision to run for the board, I didn't have an agenda that
Trust and will require fostering an environment of productive dialogue, not suppression of thought. Lastly, I believe that parental involvement is a key to educating our children successfully. It has been my experience that as we resolve to embrace ownership of our children's education, success is unavoidable. I will work to further the participation of our parents in the education of their children.
This question is pretty easy for me to answer. Do I have an agenda for which I feel strongly? You bet I have an agenda. And that agenda is to continue to serve this district as a positive contributor, as a member of an outstanding Board of Education that has as a number one priority the facilitation of our teachers and student success. What changes would I make in the district policies or programs? How would I build consensus to implement these changes? First of all, I accomplish nothing as an individual, only as an entire board. I will continue to work with the rest of the board to analyze and prioritize the needs of this district, and then work with them to reach a consensus to make informed decisions that best reflect the needs of the overall district, just as we always have.
I'm not standing anymore. No one else is. I changed the rules. I'm sorry. My only agenda, my only agenda, is to represent school-age parents on the board. And my only purpose is to be a liaison to our parents and our teachers. And if elected, I plan to support the progress and review of processes that are actually already currently going. Our district has a way of doing things for their policies and procedures. And changes in policies or programs should always be timely, and they should be relevant, they should be strategic, and they should support the mission of Bolivar schools in our community. And the rest of the question was, how do you build consensus? And you build consensus, I believe, through discussion and looking at best practices, not just in the COC, which, I'm sorry, that's my little thing. We always say, how's it going in the COC? You need to be looking at the state and the region and the nation, because we want Bolivar to be the very, very best. And so whatever policy and program is associated with our district needs to be the very best as well.
First, anyone seeks to become a member of the Board of Education to advance your agenda, you're running for exactly the wrong reason. Every year that I've run for this position, I have said the same thing. My only agenda is to help the administrators, teachers, staff, and parents to provide the best possible education for our children. Period. That's it. Agendas have no place in our school. They are detrimental to the educational process. There are thousands of issues and problems that go into educating our children. And those agendas, those who have agendas, are focused only on their own personal beliefs and ideology. They become so consumed with their one issue that they forget that our objective is to provide our children with the knowledge and the skills necessary to be productive members of an ever-changing society. That's our mission. Furthermore, and I'm going to echo what JR said, no individual board member can act alone. The Board of Education acts as a body, and only after careful deliberation. Those who seek to promote their own agenda will find themselves isolated from the rest of the board and unable to be an effective board member. Once again, those with a personal agenda lose focus of what our objective is, and that is to help the professionals, which are you, the CTA, help educate our children. I would like to say that our present Board of Education understands this, and they understand it thoroughly. Not to say that we don't have differences, but we all realize that we do all of this for our children. And we do this so that we can come to a consensus which will help those children. Our great strength is in our diversity and in our experience and our knowledge. We're all proud of our school. We all support public school. And we have an outstanding school by all accounts. And part of that is an experienced, solid, fair, reasoned, and rational Board of Education. This board always puts the interests of our students first, and I am extremely proud to be associated with each and every one of them. So to answer the question about building a consensus, if you all have the same goal in mind, and that goal is educating our children, that consensus will build itself. And that's exactly what we do.
Okay. That concludes the first part of our board forum. I'd like to remind you that if you do have, I would like to thank you for all of the submitted questions. We had some very, very good questions. Unfortunately, we can't ask all of them. There was just way too many, and we could be here forever. There was a very similar common core theme in a lot of the questions, so we have kind of taken all of those questions and kind of reworded it to make it a one question, part question that we will get to in later portion of our questioning here in just a second. We had several topics, but the majority of it was about Common Core. But I want to get started with our first part of these questions. You will have 2 minutes to make a response, and if you'll watch our timekeepers, they'll let you know when you have 30 seconds. And I'm going to start with our first question here. Please explain your definition of our community's ideals and values. Those terms mean different things to different people. Let me read it one more time. Please explain your definition of our community's ideals and values. Those terms mean different things to different people. And I believe, Mona, you're in the first rotation, and if you'll hand her the microphone, we'll let you start.
I'm back at standing, guys. Okay.
Well, would you say it one more time so I start off correctly?
I will be glad to.
Please explain your definition of our community's ideals and values. They mean different things to different people.
And I'm assuming that's pertaining to public education. I believe our community expectations for our public education is to raise good citizens, and good citizens with ethics, honesty, a strong conviction on what's right and wrong. And I believe that they expect that out of an education, that we set that example at this level. And I'm supposed to smile more.
The terms ideals and values, to me, mean something different than maybe each person in this room. We come from backgrounds very varied, okay? Different parts of the country, different religious affiliations, different socioeconomic backgrounds. And so ideals and values may end up, and probably will end up, being a little bit different for each person. For me, the ideals and values, I tend to be very conservative. My faith really dictates what decisions I make and how I make decisions. The integrity that I was brought up with helped me make the good and the right decisions, and the character that I frame my life around also form my decisions. And I think that I know for a fact that with those characteristics, I will work towards making decisions based upon each of those.
I know when I moved here, this is a much more conservative community than I was in before, and that's not saying anything bad. That's positive. And I'm going to address it strictly from a board point of view. This community values and expects a quality education and what it takes to provide that. Since I've been here, any bond issue or levy increase that we have run has never been turned down, as long as it encompassed the education of our kids and the improvement of the overall education on a consistent basis. So this is a good community, and they value the right thing, and that's their kids. And that's what we're here for tonight, nothing else.
Just some words that came to my mind when you asked that question. Also, I just think back of what I value in our community and why we moved here is Bolivar was really built from a big farming community, and part of our family is farmers. So I really think about the ethics and frame of mind that they come from. And the words supportive and conservative and honesty and homegrown and character and family. So I think when I think about the values that we have for our education system, our kids and our teachers reflect that in our school system every day, and that's what you teach every day. I could tell you the pledge, but I won't go into that right now. But a lot of those words are in that, so that's what I think about.
That was good, Ren. I like that. Well, when they say, what are the definitions of the values and beliefs of our community, I think the question that's really being asked here is, does this school district represent the values and beliefs of our community? And you know what? They do. And you know why they do? Because you look out here and you see several teachers. And the teachers are not from New York City and San Francisco. They're from Bolivar. They're from Southwest Missouri. And every day when they go into their classrooms, or whenever our principals counsel our teachers, they project the beliefs and the values of our community. Our community is very conservative. Hey, look at me, I'm a Baptist banker that was raised in Polk County. I mean, you know what I am. I mean, everybody knows what I am. And those are the types of beliefs and values that we have. And we have to reflect those of the community. We teach our kids what they need to know, and then we continue to promote those beliefs and promote those values. You know, and I think, touching on what JR said a while ago, when we do that, we build trust with this community. And that is essential. Dave Barry wrote a great editorial on this several years ago, and it was entitled Bolivar R1 Board Builds Trust with the Community. Because whenever, this was a monetary thing, but whenever we had excess funds, we lowered our levy. We lowered our levy because we believe in you, the taxpayers. But when we needed something, when we were faced with a crisis, we asked you for something and you responded. 82%. 82% of the people voted for the last levy increase that we put on there. And that's why you do it, of course. Of course we all represent the values and beliefs of this school district and this community.
I don't mean to insult you with a history lesson, but I'll tell anyway. Public education was started by our founding fathers so that each child could read the Bible for themselves. That's where the funding came from. They thought that each child should be able to read that. Obviously, we've strayed from that, sadly. Also, every law that was made that opposed the Bible was not put into practice. It was voted down. If someone could say in our when our laws were being made, this goes against the Word of God, it was no longer law. That is not true now, but I do believe that's the hearts of Bolivar people. And so I think that's what our values start with. Steve mentioned the word diversity a while ago, and diversity, to me, isn't that we stray from morals and ethics. It's that we have different gifts and talents among our kids and our community members. So the ethics and values and agendas should still all come from one source and be transferred to our children in that manner.
All right. Thank you. Our next question. Many board members across the country do their best to hire great administrators and then basically hand over the reins. What role do you see yourself playing in relation to administration, teachers, students, and parents? And many districts, including our own, are cutting down on things like recess and snack, in quotation marks, time for kids to be kids at the elementary level in order to guard instructional time as courses become more rigorous. Do you support this type of philosophy, and why or why not? There are two questions in there. First one is, board members across the country do their best to hire great administrators and basically hand over the reins. What role do you see yourself playing in relation to the administration, teachers, students, and parents? The second part of that is many districts, including our own, are cutting down on things like recess and snack, a time for our kids to be kids at the elementary level in order to guard instructional time as courses become more rigorous. Do you support this type of philosophy, and why or why not? And I will be glad to read that at any time, so if you need me to repeat. It's quite long. Okay, Bill.
I look at how I am in my business and what role I play as a leader in my business. I don't have a large business, but the skills necessary to be a good leader, a good communicator, are important on that level as they are on a large level. So I believe I have the underlying skills to rally, okay? I believe I have the skills necessary to come to a consensus. I believe I have the skills necessary to encourage. I believe that I have the skills necessary to project wisdom or to help in the decision-making process when there are difficult decisions to be made. So what I see myself, the role I see myself playing is one of rallying, one of leading, one of helping, and one of encouraging. And so those are all essential things at a lower level, and just being applied to an upper level is what I see myself doing. I think it's extremely important for kids to have kid time, okay? My kids at home need kid time. So I understand that with the constraints that teachers have, they're being pulled at different ends to meet the kind of workload that needs to be given to the children, but it is very, very important for kids to be kids and have the time reserved for them to run, to play, to enjoy their time as children as well.
Pretty easy question, first of all, for me to answer, because I've been on the board for 6 years, but because of my career as an administrator, I see the necessity of being a facilitator and a supporter for our teachers and our administrators and our students and our parents in the district, in any district. It is important, and I think that I can relate to that very easily. You can't just ignore that, and that's what happens sometimes. And as part of your other question, as far as cutting some of those things out for kids at the younger age, I can't say I totally agree with it, but it's something that as a board you would have to evaluate and visit about with the teachers that are involved in that. At the high school, yes, I think we have to eliminate a lot of those things, because folks, the last 4 years is a big push for those kids. Like it or not, we're getting them ready for the real world. And so if we have to eliminate some of those things that they thought was fluff or whatever you want to call it, then yes, we probably need to do that, because the world is changing and we have to address those needs, and that changes every single year.
Regarding the role that we play in the lives of all of you, I have a very clear understanding as a board member of what my role is. And my number one role is to definitely support students and teachers, but I also support Dr. Dial. He leads you. I do not lead you. I also have a very clear understanding that there is a leader in each school, and that's the principal and the assistant principal. And as a board, we need to do everything that we can to support you in leading your teachers to success. One thing I would like to do as a board member is just be a little bit more transparent and have more of a relationship in the school, and just be visible and make sure that you would know my name and our other board members. We have some that are really great about that, but some need to be out there a little bit more. Regarding recess and snacks, I have a 3rd grade little boy. What do you think my answer is going to be? He drives me crazy, and I know he drives you crazy too. His learning is so different than my girls, and but he's in a classroom. I didn't go to class to observe this, but it's something I picked up on that day. There is a lot of movement in the classroom that we're in. He does not sit all day. He moves. He's engaged in activities. And regarding recess, I actually am. I work with several school districts and health departments on making sure that your recess is appropriate and your lunchtime. So I have a lot of knowledge on that.
I want to apologize if my voice is a little bit gruff. I'm having a little bit of a problem with my vocal cords or something. My daughter Shelby came up to me after the last session and said, "Dad, you were gruff and rude." So I don't intend to sound that way if I'm coming across that way, so please forgive me. But our role as board members is, the most important thing we do is that we hire the superintendent. Superintendent runs the school. And the superintendent is the supervisor of the principals of the buildings. The principals of the buildings supervise the teachers. Now, whenever we are called on to hire individuals, we look at a lot of different things. Hopefully, the superintendent and the administrators and others on the hiring committee have gone through most of the preliminary things that we need to look at prior to the time that we get it. But some of the things that we look at are the experience of certain individuals, you know, whether they have a tie to our school at this time or a tie to our community. And we also look, particularly in the case of principals, if they can be great motivators of the teachers. Because if they can be great motivators of the teachers, then the teachers are better at going out and motivating our kids to learn more. And that really is our role whenever we choose someone like that. As far as additional time, recess was my favorite subject. So, just like athletics, anything like that, some downtime, some free time is very important to the mental stability of our children. And as JR said, it's very difficult to come up with that sometimes now because of the pressures and the demands on all of our children. But we need to make time to make sure that they do have some recreation, that they can get some breaks. And I'll quit.
I love this question. Woohoo! PE and active and all that, oh my gosh, we could have research unbelievable. We're not good enough there. I'm not saying that's a Bolivar issue. I'm saying it's something everybody could get better at. It probably is a Bolivar issue, but one of the things, Cade's Law, which is in physical education, is so many minutes that you have to have per kid, and I think that's a minimum. So when you've got kids that are climbing the walls and they need a recess and they need a break, we've got to give it to them. We've got to do a better job of that, I think. And I think, especially the young working up. I know if my daughter had gone to the same type of school where you sit and you stare and you work, she would not be educated. She may be like your little boy. She had to move. We had to go. So that's one thing that I think that we could look into. And the people that look into that are the people doing it, the PE people, the educators saying these kids are climbing the walls. How can I do this better? We know that when we study the first 20-minute increments, you learn the first, you learn the last, you forget the rest. So if you go 60-minute increments, there's a good chance you're forgetting everything in between. You hit the first, you hit the last. Boom! So activity is great. The other part is, I went backwards on you notice. The other part is also, I'm going to talk fast, is appropriate age level learning. Sometimes it's more of a tendency now to say first graders need to critically think. Have you met a first grader? And as far as the listening part is, let's listen to our teachers. Our teachers are probably telling us, I need more time with these kids flying around than sitting and staring. So I think that's a great question that probably does need addressed.
Hard to remember the question when you get to the last, but anyway, as far as facilitating, we're down to administrators. I think that the board's role is to set policy and to hire the superintendent. And together as a team, they develop a method for hiring staff in the district. And if that's done correctly, and I think we're pretty successful at it, we have the staff in place and the administrators in place to follow through with the policies that the board has set through. Along with that, there's evaluations, and there's ways to help them, support them, give them the professional development they need, which is vital. And that's how you become involved as a board member with hiring administrators. Recess time is important. I totally support that. I think a child there's children that need that activity. I think it's already been mentioned. And if they have that activity, they're going to be better learners. I think our district is very good at being creative and figuring out other ways to give them activity and support those programs. But we need to do better at it. I mean, there's different mandates that come through that we have to deal with. But we, for the most part, I think we do a very good job at that. But we do need to look at it. And I do support more activity for all ages.
All right. Our next question is concerning the early childhood education. What do you think early childhood education looks like for the future?
That's a tough one for me to answer first. I'd rather listen to the other five and put something in on the end of it if I could. Early childhood, I can't tell you what it looks like. I can tell you that there is a growing need to address that on a more consistent basis, and school districts are doing that. Do I think we need to do a better job? Sure. I think we need to and can do, and that's something that we as a board have talked about. You know, but again, you get into finances. Can we allow ourselves to do it right now? Well, that answer right now is no. But it is on the big picture for us, and we are going to be looking at it because we can't ignore it. You know, it's crucial to the success of our students, and especially, like I said a while ago, with the more demands that are put on the kids as they go through a school system. So I'm probably not answering it totally, but yeah. We have to keep it on the burner, okay?
I agree with JR that that's kind of a tough one to handle, but as my experience with, I forgot to mention that we did parents as teachers. I don't know if I mentioned that. So Karen has helped us out many times over the years, and even came back and tutored one of my kids for a while after crying and pleading to help us get us through some 4th grade math. She helped us out with that. So Bolivar has a fantastic early childhood program. What we lack is getting families involved in it. And so we need to really, and Parents as Teachers does a great job, but trying to connect with those parents is really hard because we have a lot of socioeconomic issues, so trying to get them plugged in. And then, so wearing my CMH hat too, I love some conversations that we've been having lately with like Bolivar Primary School of trying to implement early childhood education, even in the birthplace at CMH. Getting people engaged and involved at that level, starting to talk about your education, and you know, you have 5 years till kindergarten, things like this. Here are things available to you. So there's some great ideas and discussion out there, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
You know, practically every seminar or every training session that I've been to in the last several years, most of them conducted by MSBA, one of the things they key in on is a better early childhood education program for the state of Missouri. They also say that we need that nationwide. I mean, I think there are probably some states that are way ahead of us on that. But studies, apparently, and I have to agree with that, constantly show that if you can get kids into school at an earlier time and give them some of the basic knowledge and learning skills prior to getting into kindergarten, that they do that much better. I mean, that's obviously true. We've got the experts sitting right out here, and they tell us that all the time. But you have to be able to justify doing that along with everything else. And just like we always have to do as Board of Education, we make choices. We make choices every year. That's one of the most important things that we do, and hopefully we will be able to in the future increase the ability of children in this community to obtain a better education in early childhood. Interesting statistics I saw, and I don't remember, I'm going to try to remember this, but some of the other countries in the world, the way they treat education, by the time they go through K through 12, they've gone to school for maybe a year longer than we have, or even 2 years longer than our kids have. That's one of the reasons that we suffer a disadvantage sometimes with other kids in the world. So, yeah, that's vitally important and something that I hope we can improve on in the future.
Gives me time to put on my battle gear. Sorry, I may offend. leave those babies home with their mamas as long as possible. The problem I have with state-funded early childhood care is that gives them more control over our babies, and it can become mandated. And how many of you went to school at 4 years old? 3. Okay, not very many. And were you way behind educationally at 6? There are also studies, sorry Steve, there are also some studies that show that the learning of the reading is not necessarily as drastically hurt as we would like to think and be told by people who want government money to babysit our children at the age of 3 and 4. Leave them home with the Hales over there. They've got about 20 kids. No more? Oh, sorry. And I understand that's not always an option for working parents, but I don't think schools need to be the early childhood care mandated. Maybe an option, but not mandated. So don't shoot too many arrows at me, but I think it's also an avenue we have to be very, very cautious about when we accept government funds to educate our little bitty ones.
Well, I kind of caught your arrow, okay? I feel strongly about voluntary preschool for at least 3 and 4-year-olds. I think it's important to give that option, especially as Ren mentioned, the social economic situation where that numbers are growing. I think it helps the parents of these children who have not had good parenting roles in their life. Here it comes. That's all.
I don't think anybody in here would argue that the best learners and the best citizens come from families that are stable, that have parents who are involved actively in their children's education. Notice I didn't say smartest. I said the best learners and the best citizens. And I think that we really have to think outside the box on this issue. What does it look like for the future? There are all kinds of budget crunches coming up. We're experiencing them right now. But one thing I think that we could probably do a better job of is a district-wide, implementing some kind of district-wide volunteer or mentoring program, not for the kids, but for the parents, right? I don't think there's a teacher in here that wouldn't argue that a lot of the problems stem from parents, not the children themselves, right? The children problems are the manifestations of things that are going on. But I think actively taking an active mentoring role means volunteering, right? Administration, other parents, teachers. It doesn't have to be 5 or 6 families, but just 1 or 2. And I think that may be something that we need to look at.
Okay. Our final question of the evening is 2 to 3 parts. And, well, because we had several questions concerning the Common Core issue, so we've kind of tried to lump it into these 2 or 3 sections here. What is your stance on Common Core? If you are in favor of it, what do you like about it? If you think Common Core is not the course Bolivar should be on, what is the course that would best educate our students? Let me repeat that. What is your stance on Common Core? If you are in favor, what do you like about it? And if you think Common Core is not the course Bolivar should be on, what is the course that would be best to educate our students?
Well, what an awful question to end the evening with. So my stance on Common Core. If I had to vote on Common Core today, if I got to vote on Common Core today, which I won't, and neither will you, and the reason why, anything that has government, that much government control in it, I can't fully support. Coming from healthcare, what do you think my answer to that's going to be? Because I see all the challenges with that. If I could put Common Core in a buffet line, I could pick out a few things to put in my to-go box for sure. And I think you've read that in the paper. I don't necessarily have a problem with taking a few standards and looking at them on a national level. I think that's actually kind of a best practice. I think there's lots of industries that model that's successful. The standards themselves, I've read all 80 plus pages of it. Not good to do before bedtime. Little snoozer there. I don't think there's a lot of people who can tell you that they've done that. I don't necessarily have a lot of problems with the standards. I think they're probably where we need to be, and Bolivar's had a lot of those standards in place for the last 3 years. That's not something new. We're tweaking some things. What else? Like, dislike, I kind of touched on that. Course of action, no one seems to have an answer on where we should be headed. So that's kind of interesting. I think was it Indiana that just popped out of Common Core? And I did have a question with that in the article, that I think they said 75 to 80% of their standards still matched up to what their Common Core standards was. So lots of discussion. I appreciate the passion, definitely on both sides, and have made that very clear to everyone.
Thank you. I think anytime we address the Common Core state standards, I think you have to start with a statement that says that if the Common Core state standards are an effort to reduce the local control of our school district, if the Common Core standards is an effort for us to develop a curriculum that is dictated by the state of Missouri or the federal government, if the Common Core is an effort to tell our teachers how to teach their lessons, or if the Common Core is an effort to gather inappropriate information on our students, then I'm against it. Firmly, adamantly against it. And I made the statement one night at a board meeting that if we get a letter, which we don't have, from the State Board of Education saying that you will do all of these things tomorrow, I can promise you there will be 7 people standing right out of here on this step, and they'll say, you're going to take us to jail before we relinquish that control of our school system. Now, with all of that being said, the Common Core state standards have been politicized far, far too much. For every article that you can find that is disparaging of the Common Core, you can find one that supports it. At this time, since we have not changed anything here in Bolivar, and if the legislature takes Missouri out of the Common Core state standards tomorrow, we won't change anything then. We're going to continue to focus on educating our kids here in Bolivar. We're going to continue to focus on educating them the way we always have. And I am confident, because we have good teachers, we have good employees, we have good administrators, that any test or any assessment that is sent down the line by any agency will do just fine, because we have Bolivar standards. And those are the standards that I believe in.
Ren, I did not read all of them, but I read most. What I did do was something even more insane. I attempted to take the SBAC, which is the new standardized test for Common Core, which will replace MAP. May not replace the name, but it will replace MAP. I cannot answer 3rd grade questions. I'm sorry. Take back my master's degree. In fact, at our little standard-based committee meeting, less than half of our committee could answer a 3rd grade math question. And that concerns me, because the standards may look fine, but how they're evaluated are not. And I challenge you all to please look for yourselves. SBAC does them online. You can go yourself. They are inappropriate, in my opinion for how to evaluate somebody, because there aren't right answers. There are complicated questions, inappropriate for third graders. Eighth graders, I couldn't even attempt. Some of the material was not acceptable. Telling a child to write a paper over naming their own bedtime in third grade, and they had to say that was good. They had to promote that. And I'm being very mild in this question. I thought was inappropriate. So the Common Core coming down, we must teach to those tests. Our teachers will be evaluated on those tests. And yes, I do have a problem with that. I would rather Dr. Dial, the principals, and the board evaluate our teachers. Because from a coaching standpoint, sometimes you just don't have good athletes that year. But if you have them win more games than they should have, you've accomplished a lot.
Saying you're in favor of Common Core is kind of difficult because I've also printed them all off, took a lot of ink and a lot of paper. I have attempted to read them, and I could say I went through the whole thing. Can't honestly say I've read every line. They're very hard to understand. I'm counting on the fact that I cannot say I'm in favor of Common Core, but I'm not going to say I'm not in favor of Common Core. I want standards for our district. I know our district's going to do well. I know Southwest Missouri is going to do well with the standards we have. We'll go way beyond Common Core and what it requires. Now, that being said, I also do not find any evidence. I've been to Washington. I will be going back to Washington in July. I've been to Jefferson City a number of times. I do not think the federal government is mandating Common Core on us. Our state chose to do it. Which, if that's a problem, we need to address that. And I think we are getting it addressed. It's like Steve said, if it goes away tomorrow, our district is going to continue to go and do what we do. Teach kids and give them the best opportunity we can to achieve their highest potential. And that's what we're for. That's what we're about. The state's going to work this out, and whatever they do, we're still going to be okay. So I guess I really haven't answered if I'm for it or against it, but I'm not defending it either. I just know that we're going to be okay, and I know we're going to keep fighting to protect what we believe in this community. And this board will be, like Steve said, will be the loudest one yelling if they start trying to tell us to teach anything that doesn't hold up to our standards. I don't see evidence of that happening, but we are watching it and we're guarding it.
I need to make a correction on something someone said. The state did not choose Common Core. Federal money was dangled in front of the governors, and 45 governors jumped at it. So that's how we got it, okay? It wasn't a choice. It wasn't a people's choice. There was no legislative due process. Just make that clear. I am against Common Core, okay? In case you haven't noticed, I don't like it for a number of reasons. But anytime you centralize education, it causes all kinds. Anytime you centralize literally anything, causes problems. It may not cause problems now, but down the road, there can be a lot of problems. Anytime a few people are making a decision for a great number of people, we lose control over what those decisions are, okay? So my stance on Common Core is that I'm against it. And this is a pivotal issue for me. If you stand with me, you don't like Common Core and don't like what it is for our kids, then you can vote for Tina or myself. If you do find that there's nothing wrong with it, you can still vote for us. That's no problem. So the course that should be implemented, we need to return to the way things were. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. I got an education. I got a post-high school education, and I'm doing very well. And I think that everybody up on this at this table would agree that the education they received is very good. So my opinion is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
The number of educators in this room, I doubt if we could list on this board the number of mandates that have come down either from the federal government or the state government in education over the number of years. And you know what? We've handled every one of them in our own way in this district and other districts that I've been in. You have to stay the course. If it is mandated to us, we evaluate it, we determine the effectiveness of it, we determine what's wrong with it, we sit down with our administrators and our teachers, and we determine how this district's going to address it. That's simple. It is simple. But we have to remember to stay the course and believe in each other that we can get this done. You know, Common Core is a concern, but we can't let it become something that becomes such an overriding factor that we lose sight of the big picture. What's the big picture of the board and the administration and the community for this district and the education of the kids? Well, here's a few. Curriculum, assessment, program evaluation, finance security, attendance, transportation, teacher professional development, food service, teacher retainment and recruitment, community relations, and on and on and on. It doesn't stop. And Common Core is not going to be something that's going to derail us from being a successful district. Wait a minute. I'm going to apologize for using my hands and pointing. But you know what? That's just the administrator coming out and the grandpa. I've got grandkids that would rather I spank them instead of talking to them, I think.
All right, thank you, candidates. At this time, we will have a 2-minute wrap-up by each one of you. If there's anything that you haven't said to this point or something you would like to say or reiterate one last time before we close up for this evening, you will each have 2 minutes to do so. And again, thank you all for your submitted questions, and I wish we could have gotten to all of them. And I hope we at least touched on some of those topics that you had asked us to inquire of our candidates. And so we'll start with Ren Hall, if you will.
Sorry about that. Well, thank you so much for having all of us here tonight. I take the running for board very seriously. Back in the last several months, I've spent a lot of time talking with parents and teachers, really understanding our district to the very organic level. So I want to let you know that I've taken a lot of time to do that and learn about issues, and definitely appreciate everyone's perspective on everything. And once again, my only agenda of running is to bring an outside industry onto the board and have more school-age children represented. And last, I also want to say and just let you know that being in the position I do have at the hospital, it was very hard for me to decide to run for this board because I very much appreciate every single person up here. They are grandparents and parents, they have businesses, and I'm very sensitive to that, and they contribute so much to our school and our community. And I'm very confident that after this election next Tuesday, about this time, that no matter who's on the board or who's standing on the sidelines, we're all going to be headed in the same direction and cheering you on.
Well, once again, I want to thank CTA for sponsoring this. You're the greatest teachers in Southwest Missouri. You do an amazing job with our kids, and thank you. Thank you as a parent, thank you as a board member, and thank you as a member of this community. But I want us all to keep the focus on where it needs to be, and that's the mission of this school, and we can't say it any better than the mission statement for the school, which says that we will partner with the community to ensure that every student acquires the knowledge and skills necessary for productive participation as a responsible citizen in an ever-changing society. Well, you know, about 5 years ago, I had the opportunity as president of the board to address all of the employees the day before school started. Some of you will remember some of this, but I gave you 19 examples of accomplishments that people had made. Amazing accomplishments in the fields of science, technology, medicine, theology, law, music, business, media, and agriculture. And they've all been documented in trade journals and technology and in textbooks. And I told you that those people had two things in common. And many of you guessed that the one thing they had in common was that they were all graduates of Bolivar High School. But you know what the most amazing thing about that was? It was that second thing that they had in common. And the second thing they had in common was they were one class at Bolivar High School. Now, I'm proud to say it was my class in 1974. And I did that because I know that much about it. Those are the legacy of the Bolivar school system. They're the people we see in our churches, in our clinics, in our schools, in our shops every day. And they make a tremendous contribution to our society. They make a tremendous contribution to the world. So when you go and vote next week, I want you to consider those accomplishments. And I want you to vote for our kids. I want you to vote for our future and vote for our school. And vote for those that supported it yesterday, today, and tomorrow. God bless all of you, and God bless this school.
Voting for me is secondary to you getting involved. And that's why I went for school board, is to make a difference so that more parents get more involved. Number one is kids. And when the lights quit coming on with my child, I had to know why. And I know we're not supposed to talk personal, so I won't. However, when his friends started having problems with the lights coming on, which is what teachers live for, when they see that little light, oh, I got it. We love that. And some of those lights have been dimmed a little bit. And Bolivar is known for the brightest of those lights coming on. So whether or not you vote for me really isn't very important, as much as it is whether or not you personally get involved with your kids, your students, your community. And that's really the most important reason I'm running.
I'm very proud of this school district, and I'm proud of the opportunity I've had to serve the district. And we've got amazing teachers, and they're going to be amazing whether I'm here or not. I just would like to ask for your vote because I want to continue working for you. I'm smiling.
I think what Tina said is similar to what I'm going to say. And that is that win or lose, you know what? We've had a discussion, right? We don't all agree. I think that my purpose in life is not to be on the school board, okay? My purpose in life is to help have a direction, the right direction for our children and our children's education. So for me, this election here is about Common Core. And yes, I do have an agenda, so I make no bones about it. I think that the other qualifications that are necessary to be an effective leader on this board, I possess. And those of you who know me, I think you would say the same. But the fundamental difference is that I am not in favor of what the state and the country are leading us in, and the direction they're leading us in. So Tuesday's vote will hopefully be a voice spoken against. Thank you.
You know, we don't have a good school district. We have a great school district, and there's a reason that we have a great school district. It's because of the people that put the effort into educating our kids. We have more alumni in this district than any district that I ever worked in. And I worked in quite a few. And that is ownership, and that is instant pride when you have that many alumni want to come back and be a part of a district. I have enjoyed working in this district the 9 years that I was a principal. I have enjoyed being on the school board, even though some people told me I was crazy for doing it to start with. My wife was one. But I have a passion, since I've served 6 years, to continue serving this district. And I hope that I'm given that opportunity next week. But if I'm not, this district is still going to move forward. There is no doubt about it. And thank you for coming tonight.
All right, and let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Thank you so much. I think we